Story 1. Care work in all fields carries significant responsibility while often offering only minimum wage, without sick pay or any benefits, which is unreasonable. Story 2. Our custodians work hard inside our 177,000 square foot recreation center, earning between $12 and $14 an hour. We make an effort to ensure our offices and staff bathrooms are clean, and we provide them with lunch, but it is still disappointing. Story 3. Every job requires hard work. We are all striving, while those who have never worked a day in their lives and inherited vast fortunes receive all the rewards. Story 4. There is no doubt about it. Certified nursing assistants, CNA, are important in home caregiving. I had a home health agency offer me $13.50 to start last year. Yes, I know hospital CNAs make more, but home health care requires a lot of work. The agency charges clients around $50 an hour but pays caregivers the minimum wage. Story 5. I create life-saving catheters that will unclog your arteries, and my hourly rate is comparable to that of a fast food fry cook. If that sounds alarming to you, it should. Story 6. Most individuals, especially in the current post-pandemic affordability crisis where prices have doubled and pay has stayed the same or only increased by 1 to 2%, are underpaid. This is particularly true for anyone earning under $100,000 for a full-time position. Story 7. 90% of the jobs that salarymen, professionals, and the middle class perform. Story 8. Retail stocking is never as lazy and laid-back as television makes it appear. It involves just as much physical labor as an average construction job, in my opinion. Story 9. Dog kennel work involves constant exposure to animal feces. Aggressive animals, feline and canine, and other species depending on the setting. Scratches, bites, and ruined clothing are common. Anxiety attacks frequently occur in this field, which can be particularly challenging when working with animals that are sensitive. My least favorite aspect is dealing with chemical-soaked clothing and chemical burns on my body, even while wearing personal protective equipment, to ensure kennels are properly cleaned and do not spread disease. Extreme temperatures, rain, wind, snow, heat, and cold are all part of the job. If a dog bites you, take the rest of the day off. If you are mauled to death, please don't sue us. You know what you signed up for at $6 to $13 an hour. I won't even start on dog trainers. We do what we do for domestic animals out of love and compassion. However, be warned that even many animal humane societies barely manage to pay minimum wage for some of the most gut-wrenching horrors you could imagine. Story 10. All of them, and I mean that pretty literally. Every job I had was hard compared to the jobs that pay well. The more I earned, no matter where, the less I did. This is still true today. The easiest job I've ever had is by far the highest paying. It's a scam. Story 11. Childcare. The person caring for your child while you work is likely facing challenges in providing for their own children. Story 12. Public defenders are lawyers who take on difficult and thankless cases and are paid very little. Story 13. Anything in forestry is covered. They conduct prescribed burnings, water quality protection, and timber management. They engage in anything that contributes to keeping the ecosystem healthy and are always vigilant. Story 14. Almost all of us are in one of the richest countries in the world, yet Reagan's trickle-down economics is just a way of saying we are left with table scraps to squabble over. Story 15. Deep cleaning college dorms to prepare student residences for transformation into hotels is some of the most challenging cleaning I have ever done. The contracting company receives $27 per hour per person while compensating workers as contractors at $17.20 to $20 per hour, thereby avoiding tax obligations. I would never accept the same job unless compensated at a rate between $50 and $70 per hour. This is serious. Furthermore, I would advocate for hotel housekeepers and commercial cleaners in medical buildings. Having worked at many resorts, I believe housekeepers should earn at least $5 per hour more than their current pay. No one will spend money at a dirty establishment. This should be a consideration. Additionally, all blue-collar laborers, from crane operators to construction workers, deserve to earn as much or more than a receptionist. It is unreasonable that a receptionist can make $30 per hour while the person who built the building she works in receives only $24 per hour. Story 16. Teachers, emergency medical staff, nurses, and sanitation workers, as well as farm workers, are doing hard manual labor for significantly below minimum wage. Story 17. Bus driver. Drive this large vehicle with children yelling at you on narrow streets. Story 18. Support services in healthcare facilities. Housekeepers, laundry aides, and kitchen staff are significantly underpaid. Story 19. Property managers handle problems and crises, often facing criticism, and the compensation is low. Story 20. I got laid off from my office job and now I am stocking shelves at Target. It is hard work hauling boxes and running around all day. It is definitely harder than my office job, even if it is not as skilled, and I make less than half of what I was making. Story 21. I have worked in residential centers and hospitals for teenagers. Staff members in general are significantly underpaid for the stress of their jobs. One must love their work to remain in such positions. Story 22. A skilled mason constructs structures from bricks that can stand for hundreds of years. It would be wonderful to say, "My great-grandfather built that." Story 23. At this point in late-stage capitalism, I must honestly say that any job outside of a C-suite and some upper management positions is paid far too low for the amount of work expected. Upper management and above are compensated about 10 to 100 times more than is justified. Story 24. Childcare workers. I was a preschool teacher in charge of 11 two-year-olds in one room every day, by myself. It was overwhelming. Story 25. A cook makes significantly less money compared to a server, which is surprising to many. A cook earns minimum wage plus $1 to $2, while a server typically earns 15% of each bill. Additionally, cooking involves intense physical labor. Story 26. Food service is incredibly challenging, and I have a lot of empathy for food service workers. Your hours change frequently, so you never have a fixed schedule. It's difficult to schedule time off when your manager dismisses your request from 3 months ago. The training period is often inadequate, lasting only about an hour before you are expected to perform on your own. Mistakes are very public, and you are dealing with customers usually when they are hungry and frustrated. There is almost no room for advancement. You can work hard and receive only a minimal raise. Some people refer to it as low-skill or unskilled labor, but I believe those people have never worked in food service. Just because the job may not require specific skills to get hired does not mean you do not need to learn important skills to excel in the role. Story 27. The vast majority of labor jobs involve many men and women who can hardly walk in their retirement. I believe they would appreciate a little more spending money. Story 28. I'm in the United States. Most of them, but especially paramedics, teachers, and fast food workers, particularly in states that rely on the federal minimum wage. Retail employees, truck drivers, and anyone in healthcare, except for a handful of surgeons and high-level administrators, veterinarians, and anyone except executives in the airline industry, as well as customer service agents. Story 29. Teaching for what they have to deal with, coming from a spouse who has dedicated 33 years to teaching and education myself. Story 30. Nursing assistant and housekeeping staff at hotels. I've done both, and I'm not sure which is more frustrating. Story 31. Teachers, no question. They shape future generations, stay late, work weekends, and often use their own money for supplies. The dedication they bring daily deserves much more recognition and better pay. It is remarkable how much we rely on them and how little they are compensated. Story 32. State-level political office jobs pay very little, sometimes even nothing. This severely limits the type of individuals who would enter these roles and advance through the political ladder. If we want more people from low to middle-class backgrounds to enter politics, which we absolutely do, we need to make it more accessible. Story 33. Nursery workers play a crucial role. While many refer to them as teachers, they are significantly responsible for caring for younger children. They are literally responsible for keeping babies safe and providing them with a good start in life. Unfortunately, they often earn minimum wage, which is quite disheartening. Story 34. Hospitality. I am a chef with a salaried position. In the past, I earned far below minimum wage due to the number of hours I worked. However, things have improved somewhat after the COVID-19 pandemic, as many chefs left the industry in search of alternatives. Story 35. There are jobs that matter more and help entire communities. But for me, it's corporate entertainment. Executives routinely earn mid-six figures while their assistants make around $30,000 a year. It's tough out there. Story 36. Anyone who works with very young children plays a crucial role during the most important years of brain development. However, pay is often minimum wage. Story 37. UK civil service jobs attract the best talent due to significantly higher salaries in the private sector, leaving less experienced individuals in charge of maintaining the country's safety and operations. Story 38. I want to mention educators, but where I live, they actually earn a decent income. So I will refer to early childhood education professionals with a 3 to 5 year degree who make the same as someone working in a grocery store. Story 39. Pilots are overworked, underslept, underpaid, and responsible for hundreds of lives on board, along with their families on the ground. Story 40. Telecommunications technician. I am referring to the individual responsible for physically installing the infrastructure for your internet and television services. This does not include the companies, but rather the laborers who perform this work. Some technicians receive decent pay, but the compensation varies significantly. It often takes years of difficult experiences to reach that level, and even then, the job can be quite challenging. Most technicians do not last more than a year or two due to the demanding requirements from companies and the low pay. These individuals work outside in all kinds of weather year-round. Honestly, I consider them more deserving of celebrity status than the influencers we see nowadays. Story 41. Nurses receive inadequate benefits, work long hours, face constant abuse, and earn wages that often leave them drowning in student debt. Story 42. Nurse for sure. Now that I am a nurse practitioner, I wonder what I was doing with my life. I now do a quarter of the work for 3 times the pay. Story 43. The answer may seem evasive, but are there any jobs that pay less than $50,000 for full-time work these days? Wages are too low for people to save and enjoy their lives. Specifically, I wish that teachers and emergency responders could earn more. However, we should all be making enough to not worry about affording basic necessities like eggs. The $50,000 figure is arbitrary and subject to change. Story 44. It is baffling to me that there are office workers who receive good salaries with benefits and retirement contributions who do little more than attend meetings and send emails. Meanwhile, there are people doing physical labor for 8 to 12 hours a day earning minimum wage. What does it mean that the office worker receives more money than those who actually support economies? Story 45. Education, nursing, home health care, elder care, special education services, administrative assistant, anyone who was compelled to continue leaving their home during the pandemic shutdown. Story 46. General management in a restaurant involves various challenges. Every time you process payroll, you may notice that the bartender who arrives late, appears under the influence, gives away free shots, and leaves the bar sticky while not following protocol is earning more per hour than you. Story 47. Registered veterinary technicians are trained to run and monitor anesthesia and intubate patients, in addition to other nursing duties, and make $25 per hour if they are fortunate. Story 48. Any job that politicians refer to as heroes, such as first responders and teachers, deserves recognition. As Bill Maher put it, they must be heroes because they are willing to do the work for minimal pay. Story 49, probably unpopular, but all of them, every single one of them, even the billionaire chief executive officer. His wage is not what makes him the most. Most of his gains come from compensation packages, dividends, stock options, and so on. For regular people, it goes without saying, I think. Story 50. Gig delivery involves spending an hour and a half shopping and then driving 13 miles to a customer in your own car. Walmart will compensate you with $11, assuming their app functions properly. Story 51. Most retail jobs are underpaid, but the political movement has encouraged underpaid workers to prioritize racism over higher wages. Story 52. Labor. People working in landscaping, drywall installation, and digging ditches often push their bodies to the limit. As they age, their ability to work declines, and many do not have the opportunity for retirement. Story 53. Firefighters and emergency medical services are mostly volunteer in my area. While police departments have high budgets and salaries, firefighters and emergency medical services are often underpaid and understaffed. Story 54. Landlords face challenges such as inflation, irresponsible tenants, and laws that favor tenants, all while struggling to make significant profits until selling the property after its value increases. Story 55. Accounting. Many people view accounting as a typical office job and assume that accountants earn a good salary. However, it is shocking how undervalued accountants are in the professional world, both in terms of salary and the excessive workload other departments assign because they lack understanding of our roles. Recent developments have significantly devalued the certified public accountant license, which has traditionally been one of the few paths to a six-figure salary in this field. Additionally, the outdated work mentality held by many managers continues to hinder progress in the profession. I earned my degree in 2018, and unfortunately, the profession is in the process of being dismantled while I am trying to build my career. Story 56. Internet poster. I have probably written extensively and studied more subjects than I did in university, and I haven't paid for any of it. Story 57. I have probably written numerous posts by now and studied more subjects than I did in university, and I didn't pay for any of it. Story 58. Cleaning sewer drains is one of the most challenging jobs, and the pay is not very good for dealing with waste, toilet paper, and urine. Similarly, iron workers take significant risks and are not compensated fairly for their work. Story 59. My wife worked as an emergency medical technician during the COVID-19 pandemic, transferring high-risk COVID-19 patients. She earned $13 per hour. At the time, I was earning more than she was as a cashier at Walmart. Similarly, one of my best friends was a paramedic earning $14.50 per hour until about 2 years ago. He witnessed horrific events, saved a few lives, but he certainly has trauma from the job. Story 60. Drain cleaners, grease trap vacuum cleaners, and septic tank pumping services deal with unexpected hazards that arise outside of typical day-to-day work. This should warrant higher pay, in my opinion. Story 61. Customer service involves dealing with people who are unaware of your actual location. They may argue about issues that are unrelated to you because often a third party is working for the company to resolve problems that the main office prefers to avoid. This can complicate your metrics, as callers may refuse to provide necessary information, believing you should already know the details, even if you are on the other side of the country. Additionally, the customer service department does not permit employees to inform callers that they are not in the office for some reason. Often, you find yourself resolving issues that were caused by the main office. Story 62. Everyone in the lower and middle class works hard. We should be able to live comfortably on just one job. Story 63. Why are there so many teacher responses? In my state, the average teacher salary is $83,000, which exceeds the state average income by $20,000. Story 64. Every job that does not pay a living wage is concerning. If the minimum wage had been linked to inflation, it would be around $25 an hour now. Very few people who contribute to your comfort on this planet are comfortable themselves. Story 65. Being an electrician in the United Kingdom means putting your life at risk every day, studying for years, ensuring other people's safety, and dealing with mentally and physically demanding work in all weather conditions. On top of that, you must constantly retrain and keep up with new regulations, all for just a little more than minimum wage. Story 66. Emergency medical technician/paramedic. I was recently in a large Texas city and kept driving past an emergency medical technician station with a sign that said, "Now hiring, $15 per hour." I also saw fast food places with hiring signs advertising $13.50 per hour. Story 67. In America, almost all of them in executive positions earn excessively high salaries. I believe there is a connection. Story 68. Manual labor often involves backbreaking work in harsh weather conditions. Consider roofers or individuals who install air conditioning systems or water tanks in attics. Inspectors must also navigate tight crawl spaces. Many of these physically demanding jobs take a toll on workers' bodies, yet they are often underpaid for their efforts. Story 69. Moving furniture can be a challenging task. The reputable companies I have used locally employ hardworking individuals who are dedicated to their jobs. However, there is often no reliable schedule or guaranteed end times each day. Not to mention the physical demands of lifting heavy items and relocating your entire life. The level of care and attention to detail I received did not match the cost of their services. Professionals deserve to be compensated fairly for their work, ensuring comfort, stability, and access to healthcare when needed. Story 70. Nurses should be compensated more than doctors. They care for patients from the beginning to the end of their shifts, often managing up to 6 patients at a time. Where can you find a doctor who provides this level of compassionate bedside manner? Story 71. Anything involving caring for or helping people outside of medical or nursing professions is often undervalued. Community care assistants, therapists, childcare providers, and teachers are significantly underpaid. Capitalism does not seem to care. Story 72. Chefs and cooks in Australia require 4 years of trade school and apprenticeship to become qualified, similar to other trades such as plumbing and carpentry. Mid-level chefs earn $25 per hour, while my plumber charges $80 per hour. Story 73. Line cooks and sous chefs. The front of house generates revenue by serving food. Story 74. Abattoir workers are some of the hardest workers I have seen. The work is continuous, resembling a production line. It is cold, it has a strong odor, and there is blood and offal. The pay is very low. Story 75. From the top of my head, social workers, teachers, and nurses. Their work is pivotal for us as a society, yet so underpaid. Story 76. Custodians, drain cleaning technicians, private sanitation workers, and truck drivers are often viewed as low-skill occupations. However, they require physically demanding labor, long periods of focus, and an understanding of mechanical systems. These workers are also the backbone of a smoothly operating society. Everything needs to be clean. Sewer and sanitation workers contribute to a healthier modern world, and all goods are transported by trucks. Story 77. Teachers, firefighters, and emergency medical services personnel outside of California and a few select cities are often underappreciated. However, teachers are among the most underpaid professionals in this country. Story 78. Nursing is a profession that requires individuals to possess a kind, loving, and compassionate soul filled with hope and kindness. Unfortunately, this essential quality is often undermined progressively due to a lack of resources, space, funding, staff, budget, time, donors, and basic human goodness driven by corporate greed. Story 79. Any job associated with traditional women's roles in society, meaning anything that provides care and service to others. Story 80. Call center associate, where you need to be licensed to talk to people about a product and service. Add in constant micromanagement when the management does not properly staff the hotlines. It is not physically strenuous, but it affects you mentally taking calls back to back. Story 81. Almost every job, especially customer service, retail, food service, teaching, and daycare, involves essential workers who are underpaid. This issue is particularly evident in America. Story 82. Emergency medical technicians often earn less than the individuals working in fast food establishments. Story 83. Fast food work is easy to learn but hard to truly master. A well-rounded employee should be paid between $19 and $20 based on their knowledge, excluding any additional pay for their performance. If this were the case, fast food could provide good service and return to being fast. Story 84. Trucking faces a significant retirement gap, and many are unwilling to endure 70-hour workweeks with wages falling below minimum standards when analyzed mathematically. To address this issue, Companies are hiring largely undertrained and unskilled drivers. Please drive safely, everyone. Story 85. Everything that makes close to minimum wage includes most jobs such as emergency medical technicians and retail workers. Story 86. Caregivers and emergency medical technicians, of course. However, I have to nominate most cooks. Unless you are in the top 2%, you get paid just enough above minimum wage to deter you from seeking a new job, while working over 60 hours a week in a stressful and physically demanding position with no benefits. Psychological abuse is common and can sometimes escalate into physical abuse. Story 87. Last time I checked today at noon, the annual salary for a network engineer was around $60,000 before taxes. I am not suggesting that it is a dangerous job or that other jobs are more or less deserving of a higher wage. However, obtaining Cisco certifications, earning a bachelor's degree, and acquiring CompTIA certifications should lead to compensation of at least $100,000 a year. That is disrespectful to the employee and their time. The same applies to pharmacy technicians. Story 88. McDonald's and other fast food services may be considered low-skill jobs, but they require hard work and often go unappreciated. Every time I go through the drive-thru, the employees are busy taking orders while managing the constant background noise. They utilize every second of your time. Additionally, they often earn minimum wage and do not receive tips. In contrast, at my engineering desk job, I can take a break to search for fly fishing techniques, and no one seems to mind. Story 89. Everyone who works in any operations department at a corporate business plays a crucial role. Whether in supply chain or actual operations, such as moving items from one location to another, operations is typically the engine that drives the business. Unfortunately, these employees often find themselves at the lower end of the pay scale, sometimes earning minimum wage, depending on the company's practices. Story 90. Hospital environmental services, housekeeping, and custodians work incredibly hard, and the hospital would literally be unable to function without them. Story 91. Generally, any job in a middle school involves a unique environment. They are not locked in there with you, you are locked in there with them. Story 92. School and hospital technicians and maintenance workers are paid between $17 and $22 an hour to perform the tasks of multiple skilled professionals. I am not sure how they manage to hire people, to be honest. Story 93. Industrial maintenance. Welders earn more than individuals who can weld, plumb, fabricate, or wire 480 volts. Story 94. Many low-skill, minimum-wage jobs take a significant toll on your body and mental health. To be fair, I believe most jobs pay too much. It would be much easier to list jobs that offer excessively high salaries. Story 95. Many professions that involve care are often stereotyped as being performed by women. The lowest regarded is the teacher, while the highest is the therapist. There is also a significant lack of respect for those who work with the nation's most vulnerable population, children. School counselors are sometimes criticized as being not real therapists, despite obtaining specialized licenses and working in underfunded and challenging school environments. Story 96. All of them. Pay is not really based on effort or worth. At best, it is based on risk, but generally it is based on profit. Story 97. I am a medical research technician specializing in large animal studies, with 15 years of experience in the field. My responsibilities include study design, imaging, anesthesia, and both sterile and non-sterile surgical techniques. I also perform bandage changes and process the data after collection. I earn $50,000 a year, making me the highest paid technician in our laboratory. Our lowest paid technician earns less than $14 per hour, reflecting their lower experience level, but their work is still incredibly important and requires proper training. Story 98. Care workers, emergency medical technicians, teachers, and anyone who works for the federal minimum wage deserve to earn a living wage that reflects the cost of living in their area. If you cannot afford a one-bedroom apartment along with your bills and food on your salary, or if you struggle to afford these necessities, you are likely being paid too little or managing your finances poorly. Story 99. FedEx, especially drivers working for a contractor, such as ground, start at $125 a day and are fortunate to receive a $5 daily increase after a year. Story 100. Preschool, kindergarten, and first grade teachers are teaching children the alphabet, how to read, speak, write, add, and multiply, as well as about science and nature. They are learning how to properly interact with other children and adults, care for pets, and understand emotions and feelings. They learn how to tie their shoes, use manners, and work in groups. They are taught what is right and wrong, what to do and what not to do. Additionally, they learn how to eat in public and understand basic hygiene. They are learning games, sports, and how to use public transport, as well as nutrition and physical fitness. Music and art are also part of their education. To help children perform better later on, smaller class sizes, phonics instruction, and improved teacher pay are necessary. These factors are essential for laying the foundations on which a child's future learning will be built. Story 101. I worked unloading trucks for a grocery store and United Parcel Service for a couple of years. Both jobs were criminally underpaid, but at least United Parcel Service paid a few dollars over minimum wage, unlike the grocery store. For the exhausting, body-destroying labor, you should have been making at least $15 back in 2015, and it definitely should be even more now. Story 102. Teaching involves effectively conveying information while managing the classroom and ensuring the safety of numerous children with varying behavioral and learning abilities. This task is extremely challenging. Additionally, after the first workday concludes, teachers often face a second workday dedicated to lesson planning and writing reports. Unfortunately, many schools, both public and private, offer low salaries. Story 103. Medical assistants play a vital role in ensuring the smooth operation of clinics. We are always busy multitasking, yet we are often underappreciated. Story 104. Preschool teacher. My wife has worked at the same school for 7 years, yet she is only earning $23 per hour. We live in a very expensive town, and McDonald's starts teenagers at $20 per hour here. She has a college degree and is 51 years old. The challenges she faces with parents can be quite overwhelming. Story 105. I retired from retail a few years ago after over 30 years. I still have retail-related stress dreams almost every night. Story 106. Teachers, especially for younger children, face significant challenges. My mom is a preschool teacher who works with co-teachers. Parents often struggle to manage 1 or 2 children at home. Now imagine handling 30 to 40 children for 12 hours. Story 107. All teachers and paraprofessionals, especially those working with children who have disabilities and high support needs, are constantly required to do more with less. They face insufficient support and funding, challenges with administration, and issues related to burnout and injuries. Story 108. Firefighter paramedics. In Florida, if you want to be a firefighter, you are required to be a paramedic as well, or at least an emergency medical technician, EMT. Unless you end up at an excellent department, you will make around $65,000 if you are lucky. This is why many departments are struggling, as the pay does not justify the career when considering other factors such as health issues, post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, from traumatic experiences, and sleepless nights that impact relationships and lead to chronic alcoholism. Many firefighters have to work overtime, take on second jobs, or start side gigs just to make ends meet. In Florida's increasing cost of living, many are commuting from other counties because they cannot afford to live in the communities they serve. Story 109. A&E nurses. My mom has worked in the job for 30 years. Despite low pay, poor conditions, and long hours, she has saved more lives and witnessed more tragedy than I can count. She is criminally undervalued. Story 110. Jobs that require no degree. I understand that you don't need to be highly educated to work in a factory. But should that really mean that those individuals, who perform honest work that still needs to be done, do not have the right to live a happy life? Story 111. Acting involves inconsistent hours and the ability to perform in challenging situations, such as filming in the snow while freezing and having to repeat scenes multiple times. I recall hearing about actors who developed kidney infections while filming Titanic because they had to stay in the water, and the director wouldn't allow any bathroom breaks. As a result, the water became contaminated and people were getting ill. While the financial rewards can be substantial for lead actors, those just beginning their careers often struggle. I can't imagine getting sick from being in a pool of contaminated water, only to have to share the earnings with my agents and pay taxes, leaving me with a small amount after all expenses. Then, I would face long gaps between jobs, unable to take regular employment because my fame might detract from my career. Furthermore, there's the pressure to maintain one's appearance, all while never knowing when the next paycheck will arrive. It sounds like a nightmare. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.